The group of hunters on the off-road truck needs to catch at least 20 large pythons within 24 hours. They are in the swamps of Florida, where the enormous Burmese pythons, as invasive species, have dominated for over 40 years. With a length of over 6 meters and a weight close to 200 kilograms, they have almost no natural predators here, nearly taking over the wetlands. At least 90% of the local mammals have fallen prey to these pythons. In addition to the Burmese python, the African rock python, and the world's largest snake, the green anaconda, are also present, posing even greater dangers. To control their population, local authorities have been offering bounties since 2017, encouraging professional hunters to capture these large pythons. Each captured python can yield a reward of $400 -500. This lucrative bounty has attracted swamp hunters, traditionally alligator catchers, to join the fray, especially since the alligator season ended just 3 weeks ago. Louisiana's finest hunters have now arrived in Florida, including Troy, the king of the swamp, legendary alligator hunter Bruce, robust Zach, Troy's son Chase, and the experienced Bill, the only local Floridian among them. Invited by Bill, they have gathered here. Bill, as the host, has impressed everyone with his grand entrance. On their first day, Bill set the goal: the 5 hunters must catch 20 pythons within 24 hours. Used to grappling with alligators, these courageous men find catching these smaller creatures as easy as picking up money from the ground. But will hunting pythons be as simple as they think? Before starting, they need to reach the campsite. Although the swamp is watery, there is little mud due to the limestone terrain that prevents sinking. The area is fraught with dangers, including alligators in the water and panthers and black bears on land. After a 2-hour drive, they finally reach the campsite, one of approximately 1,800 similar structures built by pioneers, hunters, and poachers, which now serve the python hunters. To expand their hunting area, Bill divides them into 3 teams. Bill and Troy drive to more distant locations. Bruce and Zach trek into the swamp, while Chase searches nearby by boat. They plan to meet back here in the evening. Troy and Bill, enjoying the beautiful scenery in their big toy, travel about 15 kilometers into the hunting area. Troy spots a python's tail first. They quickly get out of the vehicle and chase it, finding a Burmese python coiled up, of average size. Despite their experience with alligators, even these tough hunters feel a thrill of fear facing the large python, wary of its bite. Troy, with agile movements, grabs the python by the tail, pulling it out of the bushes. They realize just how long it is, and now Bill needs to seize its head to subdue it. The snake is extremely quick, making it hard to grab from the front. Troy drags it backward, diverting its attention so Bill can finally grab it from behind. In a swift move, Troy retrieves a snake bag from the vehicle to contain the python. But in a brief moment, the python coils around Bill's leg, threatening serious injury if not quickly handled. They successfully secure their first python, earning several $100s. This job is both dangerous and thrilling. Would you dare to catching large pythons for money? Catching a snake earns a reward of $400 -500, perhaps the most costly method to combat the invasive Burmese python. The king of the swamp, Troy, along with Bill, has already successfully captured their first giant python, pocketing several $100s. Meanwhile, legendary alligator hunter Bruce and Zach have waded nearly 5 kilometers westward, reaching the hunting area. Compared to alligators, pythons are better at hiding, requiring extra caution in the hunting zone. Accidentally stepping on a python's tail could lead to a severe bite. Additionally, the deep waters harbor lurking alligators, and electric eels are omnipresent. Merely walking in such an environment can be unnerving. Suddenly, Bruce hears an unusual noise. Following the sound, they dash off and indeed find a Burmese python. Zach, experienced in handling snakes, quickly grabs the python's tail. Bruce, typically confident with alligators, hesitates, showing fear at handling the smaller python. Eventually, they switch roles. Bruce takes the tail and Zach handles the head. After a struggle, they no longer find it as easy as picking up money. Zach successfully secures the snake's head, capturing their first python of the season and earning $400. Since they are on foot, they can't carry one python while chasing another. They temporarily place it in a tree to collect on their way back. Chase, hunting alone, travels 3 kilometers north in a flatboat, suitable for shallow waters, allowing him to spot distant prey. alone in the daunting swamp, even the bravest might feel nervous. Suddenly, Chase spots his first python on a nearby tree. He grabs its tail, and after the python is pulled from the tree, it immediately attacks. Handling both the tail and the head alone is challenging. As the python strikes at close range, Chase, frightened, throws it to the ground. The fleeing python presents Chase with a perfect opportunity to grab its head, securing several $100s for himself. After this ordeal, he feels that catching pythons is much harder than catching alligators. Returning to Troy and Bill, they have now caught 4 invasive pythons and aim to catch another before sunset. The swamp water is extremely clear. According to Bill, it's even drinkable. However, one must be wary of the Florida cottonmouth, also known as the water moccasin. Its venom prevents blood clotting, causing extensive internal bleeding, and can be life-threatening. Just then, Bill spots a truly giant python. In Florida's vast swamps, the Burmese python as an invasive species has severely damaged the local ecosystem. Due to the lack of natural predators, local authorities encourage hunters to capture them, offering a reward of $400 -500 per python. Troy and Bill have just caught their 5th giant python, larger than the previous ones. It coiled itself up, preventing the hunters from grabbing its tail. Directly seizing the snake's head is challenging, as they can strike in just 70 milliseconds too fast for humans to evade. Bill uses a branch to pin down the snake's head, allowing Troy a chance to grab the tail. However, the python quickly turns to attack, startling Troy into dropping the tail. As Bill attempts to grab it again, he nearly gets bitten. Troy, showing more courage, manages to grab the python's head directly and successfully subdues the large snake. They then notice that during its attack, the python had bitten through Bill's shirt, nearly causing him injury. They place the captured python in a bag, adding another 400 tooth rings. Together, the 5 hunters have now caught 9 pythons, totaling 400 to their earnings. Together, the 5 hunters have now caught 9 pythons, totaling 400 tooth rings. Together, the 5 hunters have now caught 9 pythons, totaling 3,600, a significant sum. Bruce and Zach, meanwhile, have caught 3 pythons and are searching for another. The python's rapid attacks are particularly challenging for Bruce, whose size slows him down and makes him a bigger target. Before sunset, they encounter their 4th python of the day. Bruce struggles with the snake, repeatedly grabbing and releasing the tail, nearly throwing it at Zach. On his 3rd attempt, he still fails. Finally, Bruce holds the tail while Zach distracts the python from the front, allowing them to successfully capture it. A single python can eat up to a dozen small mammals in a day. With about 150,000 pythons in the swamp, one can imagine the massive resource consumption. Without intervention, they could consume everything here. By sunset, all 5 hunters have returned to camp to assess their total catch and plan for the night hunt. Troy and Bill have 5 pythons, Bruce and Zach 4, and Chase, hunting alone, has caught 2. Bill's goal of catching 20 pythons in 24 hours is more than halfway met, but the upcoming night hunt will be even more challenging. Before that, they need to eat. Python meat is readily available. Bill handles the skinning, Bruce does the cooking. Eating the python ensures they won't miss out on the bounty. They only need to present the python skin as proof later. In the end, everything from the python belongs to the hunters, providing another source of income. Troy is particularly averse to eating snake meat, but with no other food options, he reluctantly eats the python rice dish he serves himself, trying to eat mostly rice. If asked to rate the dish from 1 to 10, he'd give it a -5, comparing it to chewing a tire. However, others, especially his son Chase, enjoy it thoroughly, going back for seconds. Python activity peaks at night, and the hunters face unprecedented challenges in the upcoming nocturnal hunt. 5 swamp hunters are working to remove the invasive Burmese pythons, earning a reward of $400 -500 for each caught. After feasting on a large python dinner at dusk, they replenish their energy and prepared to re-enter the swamp under the cover of night to achieve their goal of capturing 20 giant pythons within 24 hours. Night hunting is riskier, so they decided not to split up. All 5 would stick together this evening. These invasive species, originally released as pets, have proliferated due to the absence of natural predators. Not only pythons are more active at night, but other predators like black bears, alligators, and panthers also hunt during these hours. The hunters not only have to capture pythons, but also need to be vigilant against potential attacks from these predators. Being in the vast Florida swamps, one always feels at risk of being bitten. Honestly, earning this money isn't easy. Troy was the first to notice some movement. The whole group quickly surrounded the area. However, the noise wasn't made by a python but likely a panther, which made Bruce a bit nervous since he has the most body mass to target. Hunting in pitch darkness requires constant vigilance. Troy initially spotted the target, and Bruce grabbed its tail. But constantly grabbing tails wasn't enough. He needed to prove himself. Troy handed the tail to Bruce, urging him to go for the head. Bruce, once a formidable alligator hunter, refused to be intimidated by a mere python. Ultimately, Bruce overcame his fear and successfully grabbed a snake's head for the first time, setting a positive tone for their night hunt. The group then spread out but stayed within earshot of each other. Chase, hunting alone, encountered another Burmese python. He had to adapt and couldn't use the other's methods, managing to grab the tail with one hand and the head with the other. By the time Bill and Zach arrived, attracted by the noise, Chase had already completed the capture. Each python captured meant a significant amount of cash pocketed. Not only did they help improve the local ecosystem for native species, but they also earned substantial pay. Hunters who specialize in catching alligators have all come to Florida today to capture the invasive Burmese pythons, earning a reward of $400 -500 per python. The night's hunting operation continues, and the 5 hunters have increased their total captures to 18 pythons. Bill and Zach encountered the 19th python of the day. Hearing their shouts, the others moved towards them. Eventually, Troy grabbed the tail and Bill captured the head, successfully securing the python. By now, they had gained significant experience and were capturing snakes much faster than when they started. With the 19th python bagged, they were just one short of their goal. However, they soon realized that only 4 of them were left. Troy's son Chase was missing. With fierce black bears and panthers roaming nearby, they needed to find the missing hunter quickly. The group stopped hunting pythons, and all went to search for Chase. Despite their calls, there was no response. Troy was particularly worried, frantic with concern that it should have been him who got separated instead. He had brought his son to participate in this show. If anything happened to him, how could he explain it to Chase's mother? Navigating the swamp is easy to get lost in, even during the day, let alone at night. The only way to avoid getting lost is not to stray from the group. After 2 hours of searching with no results, Troy felt they needed more help. Bill's camp had a radio, the only way to call for external assistance. Troy wanted to stay and continue the search with Bruce, but Bill refused, arguing they couldn't risk adding 2 more lost hunters. Reluctantly, Troy agreed. On the way back, he urged Bill to hurry so they could radio for help as soon as possible. Upon returning to the camp, they were stunned to find Chase already there, warming himself by the fire. It turned out he had chased after a python and caught it, then immediately spotted another. By the time he had bagged both, the others had moved on. Knowing his teammates would search for him and then return to camp for help, Chase followed a trail back to the camp and quietly waited for their return. His actions, though well-intentioned, had terrified Troy. Despite the scare, with the 2 additional pythons Chase caught, they had exceeded their goal, capturing 21 pythons of various sizes and earning a total of $7,800 in rewards. Each person could take home $7,800 in rewards. Each person could take home $1,500. This, following alligator hunting, was another lucrative venture for the hunters. 5 hunters spent a week capturing over 100 invasive Burmese pythons and earned over $30,000 in rewards. As the snakes around their camp became scarce, they decided to move to another location today to continue controlling the invasive species. They are in Florida's vast swamps. Today, the hunters split into 2 teams. Bill, along with Bruce and Zach, went to explore an abandoned rocket launch site and the mysterious area known as the Swamp Triangle. King of the Swamp, Troy, and his son Chase responded to a farmer's request to catch another type of giant python, the African rock python. Released into the wild a few years ago, these pythons, known as Africa's largest, are even more formidable than the Burmese pythons. Their black patterned bellies are a primary way to identify them. After discussing the details with the farmer, the father and son drove into the forest. Unlike the swamp, this area is covered with dense vegetation, providing natural shelters for the pythons and greatly increasing the difficulty of the search. After wandering for 2 hours without success, just as they were losing hope, Chase spotted the first python of the day. Despite a week of capturing snakes, the hunters still felt anxious facing the python's rapid attacks. Following a struggle, Troy grabbed the tail and Chase secured the head, successfully capturing their first python of the day, earning $350. Unfortunately, it was not the African rock python they were specifically tasked to capture, so the search continued. As night fell, visibility decreased, making the environment unfriendly for humans but advantageous for pythons. Although their vision is poor, pythons' highly sensitive tongues and a row of infrared sensors on their upper lips allow them to detect warm-blooded animals or objects within a meter with remarkable accuracy. This capability gives them a significant advantage at night. However, they also have a vulnerability. The hissing sound they make when threatened can expose their location. Chase located this python by the noise it made. Working together, the father and son team captured this larger snake, earning a $400 reward. However, they still had no clues about the African rock python they were commissioned to find. Python hunters Bill, Bruce, and Zach are headed to an abandoned rocket launch site to capture invasive Burmese pythons. Abandoned buildings, homes to small mammals, also serve as perfect hunting grounds for large pythons. Before that, they plan to visit a mysterious place known locally as the Swamp Triangle, akin to the Bermuda Triangle, where unexplainable events have occurred. Bill and Zach have embellished these stories, making the place seem even more eerie. Bruce thought he just came to catch some pythons but feels like he's in a horror movie instead. However, their main goal remains to make money by capturing 15 pythons today. They won't sleep until they meet this target. The group has now entered the so-called Triangle. Oddly, despite its remoteness, the swamp is littered with mechanical parts from cars, boats, and even crashed airplanes. Locals say a mysterious supernatural force causes numerous mechanical failures here. Such places are often abundant with pythons. Bruce spotted the first python, and the three hunters rushed some grabbing the tail, others the head, and some just cheering. The confused python was swiftly captured, earning them their first profit of the day, $375 based on its size and weight. By evening, they reached the rocket launch site, which was dark with graffiti all over the walls, more like a haunted house than a launch base. Likely, no one would want to be there alone. The site was large, forcing them to split up to search. Bruce went off by himself, while Bill and Zach explored together. They were right about the pythons. One was boldly resting right on the road. The tail is a python's biggest weakness. It curls up to protect it, but this tactic fails against hunters. Zach managed to capture it, though they had to be very careful not to damage the valuable python skin, which directly affects their income. However, this meant taking greater risks, and Zach was bitten, marking the first injury since they began capturing pythons. Despite the risk of infection from bacteria on the python's teeth, these brave hunters wouldn't give up. Zach successfully subdued the python, though he had a bite on his hand. As midnight approached, the hunt continued. Bruce, who was alone, grew increasingly nervous in such a spooky environment. It felt like zombies could appear at any moment. Fortunately, he soon reunited with Bill, which lifted his spirits. A Burmese python appeared shortly after, and Bruce, finding his groove, captured it single-handedly, pocketing a few $100 more. As the night progressed, they filled their bags with one python after another, with Bruce regaining the confidence he had while alligator hunting, becoming more and more vigorous. By the end of the night, they had captured 11 Burmese pythons and earned $4,100. Although they didn't meet their target, they were satisfied with the outcome and planned to continue the python removal operation the next day, not ready to leave such a fruitful site. This man is truly daring. He boldly grabs monitor lizards by the head with his bare hands. The king of the swamp, Troy, and his son Chase, spent 3 days and finally captured an African rock python by a small river on a farm, earning an additional $400. Bill, Bruce, and Zach, Wauwentouth Triangle area, Alsamether target, catching 16 Burmese pythons and earning a total of $5,800. Today, they plan to move again. Troy and Chase are heading to the Florida Keys to look for new hunting locations. People often keep exotic pets, and when they can no longer care for them, they release them into the wild, leading to invasive species problems. Besides Burmese pythons, iguanas are also proliferating here due to the lack of natural predators. With Burmese pythons in the area, iguanas have become their prey. This suggests a significant presence of Burmese pythons. Within half a day, they caught 2 giant pythons and earned $700. Just as the father and son duo were gearing up for a big hunt, they received an urgent call from Bill. They needed to join him to tackle a new invasive species found in the swamp, the Nile monitor lizard, Africa's largest lizard, nearly 2 meters long. They had to capture it before it could damage the local ecosystem. Compared to these giant pythons and monitor lizards, Chase suddenly felt that the alligators in Louisiana might be safer. Using their equipment, Bill and his group successfully located the monitor lizard. Troy was quick to grab its tail but unfortunately didn't hold on tight enough, and it escaped. Bill took over and managed to capture it. Someone needed to grab its head, or they risked being seriously bitten. However, before they could secure it, the lizard broke free again. But Troy caught it once more. Even when captured, the agitated lizard tried to bite. This task requiring quick reflexes was better suited for the younger, quicker Chase, who volunteered to grab the lizard's head. This time, there were no mishaps, and they successfully subdued the aggressive lizard. There was no reward for catching this creature. They did it solely to protect the local ecosystem. They didn't want the monitor lizard to become another Burmese python problem. Do you think the hunters did the right thing? What massive creature could splash the water like that? Here in a small village in Florida, the king of the swamp, Troy, and his son Chase, were catching pythons when they received a new task, their specialty: alligator hunting. The village children swim in this river during holidays, possibly unaware of the dangerous man-eating beasts lurking beneath. Even without the children, the river is too close to residential areas. Some houses are even built over it. The thought of alligators creeping up at night is horrifying. Before starting, Troy gathered information from old Sean, a local who reported that alligators had been seen throughout the village's canals, including one particularly large individual. With this knowledge, Troy and his son set out to clear the area of alligators. In Florida, alligators can be hunted year-round on private land, provided they are properly tagged. Yesterday, they set many traps nearby, and today they are checking them. The first trap was a success, containing an alligator. Troy handled the alligator while Chase, the shooter, waited for the right moment to dispatch it swiftly. This was much simpler than python hunting, a job they had been doing for many years. The alligator, measuring 3.2 meters, was just a small one compared to others in the area, which even surprised the king of the swamp. Just a few meters away, they caught another, but it too was just a smaller follower. By regulation, each alligator must be tagged. The giant beast was still out there. Their mission was far from over. Setting traps in trees is one of their usual tricks, a good spot to catch big ones. Every time I see Troy reach for an alligator, I fear for his safety. Observing the splashes from the boat, it was clear this was a big one. The alligator was entangled with branches, allowing Troy to slowly drag it out of the water. Chase shot it precisely, quickly ending its struggle. It was indeed a big catch. Even the 2 strong men struggled to haul it onto the boat. They had no choice but to move the boat closer to shore, where Chase, standing on land, finally managed to load the alligator onto the boat. At nearly 4 meters long, removing this alligator meant the village was now much safer. As the season for python hunting draws to a close, the 5 hunters gather to celebrate their hard-won success. After this meal, they will return to Louisiana. The grill sizzles with 2 iguanas, which Zach says taste a bit like crab, especially the tail. The overpopulated iguanas have found a good use. This team hunt was not only profitable, but also helped many people. Meaningful hunting like this is what matters most. In 1 month, they removed 400 invasive giant pythons, with each person earning roughly $20,000. Many would probably like to try this job because, compared to pythons and alligators, poverty is far scarier.